All right, we're starting something new here in the Weather Center. This is called Why Behind the Sky, and we're not going to be focusing too much on the here and now forecast. This is just for the longer range as we look ahead with springtime storm systems, what's ahead in the summer, hurricane season, all that good stuff. So we just take a deeper dive into the longer range forecast, and we're going to be focusing on next week. There is a chance of some stronger storms, mainly back to our west, but we'll talk about what could limit those factors here in the CSRA and what could cause a severe weather outbreak out to our north and west. It's going to be warm next week. I'm going to start out with what we never start out with, the 7-day forecast. Okay, so we're going to be in the 70s both Thursday and Friday, so this afternoon and Friday afternoon. We do have a little bit of rain to talk about for Friday. It's not much. Most of us stay below a half an inch. I think one or two of us could get up to a half an inch though. This is going to be a morning time type of deal. So most of this happens during sleeping hours or on your way to work. Get the rain jacket out because we'll see some pockets of heavier rain. Can't rule out one or two rumbles of thunder, and a few pop-up storms in the afternoon can't be ruled out either, especially in our southern counties. But regardless, we do have some nice tranquil weather for the weekend and next week. How about this? We could be near 77 on Wednesday. You see that there on the far right side of your screen. So good weather to come, especially for fake spring. That is on the way here in the CSRA. And here's the big reason why. I love showing water vapor imagery because it really tells a story for what we're going to be dealing with down the line. All you have to do is look out to the west coast. The arcing wind, tracing it with the pointer here, this is what we call a ridge. A ridge is what we call a warming trend. It has nice fair weather attached to it. You get above average temperatures and a lot of sunshine most of the time. That's going to be the case, especially once we get to Saturday, Sunday, and through about Wednesday of next week. Great weather. You want to get outside and enjoy this. If you think Saturday and Sunday are a little cool in the 60s, Monday through Wednesday will be more suitable for you. But it's this ridge, the arcing winds, high above the sky in the atmosphere. Now let's show you kind of what we'll be dealing with in the southeast going into next week. So the 70s are moving in. Houston, Texas, New Orleans could be in the 80s next week. It is going to be one of those warm spells that we get this time of year. We call it fake spring a lot of the time, right? Whenever you get these warm spells, this time of year anyway, that usually means we have got a big time cold front moving in. Now for us, that doesn't necessarily mean widespread thunderstorms. It just means we are going to get a drastic cool down. That's going to come in closer to Thursday and Friday of next week. You notice the cooler colors on your map. You can pretty much trace the cold front right through there. Actually, let me just trace it. This is kind of what we do in hand analysis in weather class. You see me drawing it right through there. There's your cold front. That's what's moving in, and that's what looks to bring some stronger storms to parts of the Mid-South and even the Midwest next week. The severe weather outlook, this is what the Storm Prediction Center issues out ahead in advance. It's just to put it on your radar that you could see some stronger storms. Now remember, we are not highlighted in these for Tuesday or for Wednesday, and they haven't made one for Thursday yet. So it's important to keep an update on the forecast because the storm system will likely have a history by the time we get to Thursday of producing some stronger storms back to the west. And the severe weather outlook does highlight a large portion of the Deep South and the Ohio Valley for next week, especially on Wednesday. That's the one where I would be concerned if I am in Memphis, if I'm in Kentucky, Nashville, Tennessee. These are all areas where they need to be watching closely for next week. Notice this cuts off at about Atlanta. This is not applying for us on Wednesday, and there is not one out for Thursday yet. When there does get one issued for Thursday, I don't think we're going to be listed in it. Believe it or not, I know this system will have a history of producing severe weather, but based on the latest model guidance, it doesn't look like severe weather is likely here in the CSRA. Now let's explain why that is. Severe weather, there's two components to it. I want you to think of it like a sports car or just your regular old car in general. Two components. You've got gas, you've got horsepower. Obviously, there's a lot else involved in a car, but these are the two main components when it comes to how a car can drive, right? So gas in a car is instability with severe weather. It's how much gas is in the tank. How much warm air do we have to tap into for thunderstorms to form? As we talked about, this coming week, we're going to be in the 70s. That means we have a lot of gas in the tank for warm, unstable air to fuel those thunderstorms to form. If thunderstorms can form, then it's a matter of how much horsepower does the car have. In weather, we call that forcing. How much muscle does this storm system have to produce spin, to produce tornadoes? This setup is not like the ones that we've had in January, which produced the Bamberg tornado and the Saluda County tornado. It's a little bit different, and let me explain. So we're not going to focus on the fuel. This event, we have plenty of fuel for it. There's a lot of warm air. If we're going to be close to 80 next week in some areas, that means that we're going to have a lot of gas in the tank. But horsepower is another big factor for severe weather, and it all starts, with horsepower at least, with low pressure. What we look for in meteorology is how close is a low pressure center to our area. In this particular setup, the low pressure center is going to be in the Great Lakes. It is not going to be anywhere close to the CSRA. Let me measure that out for you. Augusta to the Great Lakes, where this low's at, is over 500 miles away. That's good for us. That means that the muscle is going to be focused in on areas such as Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, Tennessee, and I think in the severe weather outlooks next week, the area that I just circled is really what's going to be honed in on for the severe weather threat. I think we could be listed in one. I still think that there's not much merit to it at this point. Now remember, for us it's mainly going to be rain and a cool down. For areas to our north and west, this could be substantial severe weather. Now I also want to point your attention to deep south lows. We're not going to get one of these with this system, more than likely. If this low pressure center that's up in the Great Lakes were down south, that would mean that we have a very high risk of severe weather, and I would be concerned, and we would be telling you that you need to really be paying attention to this. You still need to be paying attention to it next week, because it will bring at least impactful weather to your day, Thursday into Friday, but it will not be as substantial as what areas of the Midwest and the Mid-South could see next week. So the further away the low pressure center is, the better. And quite frankly, for this case, it is well away from us. We'll let you know if that changes in the modeling guidance. So what's going to happen here is we have a lot of fuel, not a lot of horsepower. And this is going to mean that this line weakens as it moves into our area on Thursday. We can still get some thunderstorms, but it's just a matter of, I think they're going to stay below severe limits. Yet again, we are 7 days out from this, so it's important to check back for frequent updates. Now in terms of the fuel for thunderstorms, it will be pronounced to our west. Sometimes when you don't have the horsepower, you don't have the fuel to get storms going. Normally it's the other way around. The fuel for thunderstorms, if the system weakens a great deal, it's just not going to be there. That's encouraging for us. We love to see that. Now let's go into the horsepower. There's going to be a pretty good chunk of that to our west on Wednesday. Watch how it weakens once the system just ends its lifespan up in the Great Lakes. It just chokes off any of the moisture feed that we have, and that's going to eliminate the horsepower. So the horsepower goes, and we're going to be left with some rumbles of thunder, some heavy rain, and probably some gusty winds, along with some warm temperatures. And then the other thing we look for in these storm systems is how many individual thunderstorms that could rotate and produce tornadoes will there be? The chance of individual storms is actually pretty great off towards the west. Watch how it just weakens once you just choke off that moisture supply. It's gone. And so I think for us, this is a rainmaker. It will be windy. We could have a wind advisory next week, and it also is going to be warm out ahead of the system, and it's going to be cold behind it. So heads up for next week. That's all we've got. That's kind of the why behind the sky and what we're looking at for next week ahead. Make sure to stay weather aware. You'll want to have the Fox54 Weather Now app. We'll keep you updated on air, online, on my Facebook page. That's Alex Carter, WFXG, and on our Fox54 Weather Now app. All right, guys, stay weather aware, and of course, enjoy the beautiful spring-like temperatures on the way in the next several days.